Hey dudes, Dude the Builder here, and welcome to this new series called Zig Master. After about 50 videos in the Zig and Death series, where we were focusing specifically on the language and the version 0.11 of the language. Version 0.12 came out just this past week, so I think it's time to make a new series, and in this case we're going to be trying to keep up with the major developments that happen in the Zig Master branch, hence the name of the series. We're going to be installing the stable version in this video, but if there are some major changes that happen in the master branch, we will be updating to that, and we will be explaining them as they come along. Since new versions of Zig can take from 6 to 8 months to come out, I think this is a better approach than to stick with a single stable version during a video series, because in that way we can basically stay in sync with the major developments in Zig, and you don't have such a mismatch when time goes on between the video content and the actual language itself. So the first thing that we're going to be doing here is setting up our development environment. There are basically infinite combinations of operating systems and IDEs and editors and language servers. I'm going to be showing here my specific development environment. We're going to be on a Unix-like system, specifically on a Debian Linux box. We're going to be configuring the Neovim editor, and we're going to be using the ZLS language server for Zig. So let's dive right in. The first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a download directory. Let's call it DL. Okay. And we're going to be downloading, first of all, the Zig language and tool chain. So let's move over to the browser. And here, let's go to ziglang.org. We move over to the downloads page, and as you can see, this is the brand new 0.12 stable version. We're going to be using here the Linux tar.exe. Let's copy. I want to copy this address. Now let's go back to the terminal, and here we're going to do a wget. If your system doesn't have wget, you can install it via your package manager. Let's paste this. Wait for it to download. There we go. Secure the screen. Let's see what we have. There's the tar.exe. Let's untar that. Okay, let's remove that tar.exe file. And there we have the directory, and if we look inside, we're going to see that we have the actual Zig binary here. It's roughly 150 megabytes. Okay, that's pretty impressive. The whole Zig language, compiler, and toolchain is in there. And now what we're going to do is we are going to move over to user local bin. And in Unix-like systems, including Linux, whatever you put inside the user local bin is going to be in your search path whenever you try to execute an executable. So what we're going to do here, this is protected here by root. As you can see, this is owned by root. So we're going to need sudo ln-s. This is in DL, Zig, and Zig. Okay. Now if we see what we have, you can see we have the actual symbolic link pointing to the Zig executable that we just downloaded. So when a new Zig version comes up that you want to use, or even if you want to use an older one, all you have to do is just change this symbolic link and point it to the actual file that you downloaded and extracted, and you have the new Zig version up and running. So let's go back to the home directory. Let me clear the screen here, and let's use which Zig. There you go, use your local bin Zig, and now we should be able to do a Zig version. And there you have it, Zig 0.12. Now next we're going to be downloading and building the ZLS language server, which we'll need for the Neovim setup. Let's go back into that DL, and now let's go back to the browser. Let's do a search here for ZLS. Here it is, first link. This is a Git repository, which we will be cloning. Let's go back to the terminal. Here we're going to do a git clone, and we paste in that URL. There we go. We move into ZLS, and we're going to do a Zig build. Now I'm building ZLS in debug mode. This it really isn't a big issue. You don't have to build it in release. You can build it in release if you want, but I build it in debug because it's faster. ZLS is a big project, and building it in release mode will take a lot of time. And I've had even the situation where I run out of memory and I can't build it in release mode. But I've built it in debug mode ever since, and I've really haven't had any problems, no noticeable performance issues or anything like that. So there we go. If we go in Zig out bin, there we have that ZLS binary. Let's move back to user local bin. Let's clear the screen here. And once again, let's do a sudo ln-s ~dl zls zig out bin zls, and there you go. We have that ZLS binary now. Let's go back. Let's once again do a which ZLS. There you go. And if I run ZLS, there you go. ZLS is running, which you normally would not run directly. This will be used by Neovim in our setup. And that's basically what we're going to do next. Now, let's, we're here in our home directory. Let's create a directory called .config. Okay. And let's change to that directory. And let's move over to the browser. Let's search for Neovim Kickstart. Okay. And here we have Neovim Kickstart is basically a configuration for Neovim that has a lot of useful plugins already configured, a lot of key bindings, a lot of the themes. So basically, it is what the name says. It kickstarts your Neovim configuration. So this is what we will be using, because I've had a lot of success by using this initial configuration with very little customization with Zig and ZLS. So what we're going to do, we're going to copy this URL. Let's go back to our terminal. And here we're going to do, once again, a git clone of this. But this time, let's clone it to a directory called nvim. Okay? So now, inside our home directory .config, we have an nvim subdirectory. And if we look inside that, we're going to see that there are several other subdirectories. And the really important file here is this init.lua file. This is basically the main configuration file for Neovim. So now, speaking of Neovim, we're going to need to download and install it. So let's go back to our browser. in here, let's search for Neovim. There we go. Let's click here, install. So let's copy this link right here. Let's go back to the terminal. Let's move to our download folder once again. Let's do a wget. Okay. Now we can do a tar xf nvim. Okay, let's remove that nvim. Tar dc. Let's see what we have. There we go. We have nvim Linux 64. Let's look inside there. And we have a bin directory in there. And there you go. We have nvim. So once again, let's go to user local bin. Okay. And let's just do ln-s tilde l nvim bin nvim. Let's see what we have. There we go. We have the nvim, Zig, and ZLS. Go back to our home. Let's clear our screen. Let's do a which nvim. There we go. And let's start up nvim. Here we're going to see a lot of things are going to happen. And this is due to that Kickstart configuration that we downloaded. Okay. It's installing all the necessary plugins and packages and everything that we need. So we can exit out of this. And let's basically quit here. And what we're going to also want to do, let's edit our .profile. And at the end, I have some aliases here. Let's add an alias vi equals nvim and an alias vim equals nvim. Okay. Also, let's do a set -o vi, which will make vi the editor for our command line. Let's close that. So now, if I, for example, let's source that file, and if I, for example, I'm writing out this command, I hit escape. Now I am in VI mode, so I can use VI movement commands. Also, insert here, and do CLS, and there we go. So, and if we do a VI, we have nvim, and if we do a vim, we also have nvim. Okay, so that's working as we want it to work. Now what we want to do is customize that configuration. So let's do a vi.config nvim init.lua. Okay, and as you can see, this is a heavily documented initialization file in the Lua language. What we're going to do is, I already have an init.lua with the customizations that we need, and I'll just show you those changes really quick. So let's exit out of this, and let's copy in the home directory here. It's in customized init.lua. Let's copy that over the config nvim. Now if we do the .config nvim init.lua, there we go. You see that something happened because this new init.lua has some additional changes that we're going to be using from now on. For example, let's search for ZLS. You'll see that we have this entry here for ZLS, and this is inside this local servers entry, basically for the language server configuration inside of this init.lua for Neovim. We already had this entry for Lua, the Lua LS language server. So what we're saying here for ZLS is that the command that we want to use is our user local bin ZLS. And this is really important because if you don't have this in your init.lua, then Neovim will install its own version of ZLS, and you could get some problems of a mismatch between your Zig version and the version of ZLS. So to avoid that, we're going to be specifying directly that the ZLS that we want to use is the one in user local bin. Okay. Another change that I made, let's search for Zig. Okay, here we go, is in this area here that says formatters. We're going to be telling it that in the case of Zig, we're going to be using the command zig fumpt. Okay, so this basically, when you save, it'll run zig fumpt to format your Zig files. And the other change I made is, let's search for pairs. Here I added this this line here that says require mini.pairs.setup, and basically this mini part is like a suite of mini plugins, really light plugins that accomplish a lot of things that usually you would need more hefty plugins to do. But the mini has one called pairs. There's a famous plugin called auto pairs, which basically does the functionality that if you add, for example here, an opening parentheses, it automatically adds the closing one and puts the cursor where it should be. Okay, so that's handled by this mini.pairs, and that's the other change I added here. So we can exit out of that, and now let's create directory code zig hello. Okay, so I created that path. Let's change into that. Let's do a zig init. This is one of the changes from the previous Zig version. Instead of init exe and init lib, now it's just zig init. And that will basically create a project with both a sample library file, which is called root.zig, and a sample executable binary, which is called main in the src directory, as you can see here. And a build.zig that already has those capabilities. So let's do here a zig build run. Okay, the very first time that you're building, it's going to take a while because it's downloading and updating the cache. Next time that you run this, it'll be basically instant. Now let's edit that main.zig file. And the things that we have here is, let's see down at the bottom, as you can see, it automatically installed the parser for Zig. Okay. And for example, if here I say stud.fumpt.buff, as you can see, we have the auto completions. It'll tell us the signatures. It'll give us any help that the function has. Let me delete this. If I go here on top of print and I do Shift K, it'll give me the signature and the description of that specific function. We have things like go to definition. As I said, let me remove this indent here. And when you save, you'll see that Zig Fumpt kicks in and it automatically formats your Zig file. Okay, and this Neovim configuration has a ton of other useful functionality. And it does all of that in a way that's really light with really sane defaults. For example, let's say that we want to comment out these lines. If I press G, you're going to see that automatically I get this display down here. This is from a plugin called WhичKey, which will suggest all of the different things that I can use after that initial G that I pressed. And as you can see, C will comment out. So let's press C. And there we go. We comment out those lines. You also have a lot of fuzzy finding functionality. When you press the space bar, you see here that, for example, if here the slash says, it says fuzzy search in the current buffer. So let's do that. And let's search for test. And there we go, we're on this line. So this Kickstart configuration, I really do like it. That's why I recommend it, because it pretty much is a very light and very good starting point for your Neovim configuration. One thing I forgot to mention, let's go back to, whoops, let me go back to my home. Let's edit once again that nvim init.lua. I search for round. Here we go. This is another entry that I add here for the windows of the auto completion. Basically telling that I want the completion and the documentation windows to have a border with rounded corners. Okay, this is all personal preference, but the default config. Let's comment this out. It's vi code zig hello src main. We go here. If I do stud font, as you can see, it has no borders, and specifically in my case, it kind of makes it difficult to see what text belongs to the actual completion and to the what I'm working with. So that's why I had that setting here. Let's undo this. Let's edit once again. Let's search for rounded. Okay, let's uncomment this. And let's once again edit this. And now, once again, if I start here, there you see. Also, another thing that I forgot to mention is that when you do have these completions, okay, you basically navigate. You can navigate up and down with Control N is like the N is for next, Control P is previous, and when you want to select something, you do a Control Y. Okay, and once you have that selected, you can move through the items. So let's say here I write 0 here. I want to move to the next thing that I can edit. I do a Control L. Okay, let's do that. And then Control L, and then foo. If I do a shift curly, it'll move to past that curly, a shift parentheses, get to the end, and that's basically it. So as you can see, it's quite powerful. The link that I'll leave for this Kickstart configuration will also give you a lot of information of all the things that you can do. But that's basically what I wanted to cover here. We basically, with this, have a working development environment for Zig. It has the use of the Neovim editor, the Zig Compiler toolchain, the ZLS language server with auto-completion, some pretty nice sane defaults. So I hope you find this useful, and let's see what we can discover in this new journey, in this new Zig Master video series. So, Dude the Builder here. I'll see you in the next one.